Hello everybody, this is Louis from EV and I'm going to show you around in the AEM call software in order to set it up correctly for your ZONIC motor. Please download the AEM call software and use the latest version possible. In this video we're going to use version 4.5.14 and install the PCAN driver from the website EV has provided. Once you're ready, open up the AEM call software and don't connect to your VCU just yet because we need to install 3 files which should be sent to EV and I will show you what they will do. You can put them on your desktop in a separate map, and that's the easiest way to find them. You're going to go to File, Open Calibration. Right now I have on my desktop AEM call video map, and you're going to select the file. I've already installed everything here, but once you will open it, it will ask you for a definition file. The definition file is the software version that's on the VCU already. Open up the one we sent you, and then it will ask you for a tab layout. If it doesn't ask you for the tab layout right away, maybe in a newer version of AEM call, you can go to Layout, Open Layout, and select the one we have sent you. This is the way the menus here are set up, which we are familiar with, and we can highly advise you to use the same ones and get familiar with these. Getting help from us is the easiest. Once you have done this, you can put 12 volt on your system and try to connect. You should be able to connect, and then it will read the calibration. And if it doesn't want to connect like this and it just stays at trying to connect or opening a connection on PCAN USB, you have to change a few settings, which you can go to ECU, Connection Setup. You should have selected XPC over CAN, which should go automatically, but you might have to change the CAN port to PCAN USB instead of the PCAN dongle. Set it to 500 kilobits per second, and the other ones are just standard settings. So once you're connected, you can see it on the bottom right, it says the VCU is online. I will go through the basics in this video, which will help you set up everything in this software. So on the left side we have a few different tabs here, and we always start with the setup hardware, which is already done by us, so you don't have to go in here, only later on once everything is configured correctly. So we're going to the input basics. We're going to start with the ignition switch. So our ignition right now is on, and we've put it on the wake switch, which you can see here. If you want to use a separate switch for this, it's possible to configure it yourself later. After that, we're going to the park, reverse, neutral and drive selection. We're only going to use drive and reverse, and we've put drive on digital input 1, which you can see it. The drive switch input is on digital 1. Here you can see the channels and if they're active or not. So if I'm going to put the car in drive right now, which is giving a 12 volt plus to the digital 1 input, you can see it's getting activated. And a 1 means active and a 0 means not active. So I'm going to put it back in our neutral, which it will automatically go to park in the software. And the reverse is on digital 4. And you can check it if you activate it, it will go to reverse. You can also see it here. We can go to the next one, which is the Excel pedal or your throttle. So you will see your percentage here of the throttle, and you can see the voltages you are reading from the pedal. So in this application we're only going to use a single path meter, which is why they are the same. And when I apply throttle, you can see the voltage rising. And I've already calibrated it, so it goes to 100%. So what you want to do is APP1 is the throttle position. You want to go a little bit above the lowest value of your throttle pedal. So I've just put it at 0.45. So you have a little bit of play with 0%. You can tune this to however close you want it, but always go a little bit above, because otherwise you will never see 0% throttle and you're not able to change gears or directions. So you can see if I apply full throttle, it will go to 3.77 and the maximum is set to 3.75. It's a little bit lower, so you can go 100%. You always go a little bit lower on the maximum. In case you have a dual pot meter, you can always set up the second one differently according to what you read here. And the main thing you want to see is this is a positive slope, so it's going from a low voltage to a higher voltage when I give it more throttle. But you also have different cases where you have a pot meter which is one is low positive slope and the other one is a negative slope. You can select here on the left side a pedal 1 and the pedal 2 different slopes. So if you put this on negative, it would look for a negative slope here, and you can calibrate those. And then the main thing you will have to do is once these values are put in here, I've put a little bit of difference between them, like the 375 and the 370 to show this. You're gonna look for the APPX check diff, which means it will measure the difference you have in here in case for a fault. So if I apply throttle slowly, which you should do, you can see this number, it's only 0.2% right now, but it's because we have a similar pedal. If I put this at, for example, only 3 volts, you will see this difference to be bigger. And you're going to press the pedal slowly to 100% and see what the maximum voltage is you are having. So right now the highest voltage or percentage we have is around 22. In case you have set up like this, you should get a little bit closer. It's better for the system. I'm going to put it at 3.5 and I'm going to check again with a slow throttle. And you can see it's going to 5, 6, 6.5, almost 7. So what you want to do is the threshold, I'm going to put at only 10% for 5 milliseconds. And then you can play with the throttle and see if you're getting the fault. So in case one of the pot meters will lose its connection, this percentage in difference will be larger than 10, of course. And then it will go to a fault, which will make your car stop, and it's a safety procedure. So you have to configure this accordingly to your throttle pedal. Then we're going to go to the next one, the brake switch. You're able to use 2 switches. We only use 1 in this application as well. And if you give the input, you will see brake switch 1 is getting activated. You can see here brake switch 1 is on digital input 5 and we use a high on. In case you're using a different sensor, you can always choose to put it on low on, but in this case it will be on, and when I press the pedal it will go off. So make sure it's always off, and in case you press the brake it's on. You can also use a brake pressure sensor and select it here with the brake press. Then you don't need the normal brake sensor we use. As you can see, then it won't turn off because I don't have a pressure sensor in here. So one thing we can check afterwards is go back to the PRND drive select. When I press the brake, start safe should be turned on to 1, and when I release the brake it's off, which means you will have to press the brake in order to go into forward or reverse. Once you've done this, this step is complete and we can go to the next one. Then we can go to display parameters. We're going to skip a few because these should all be set up by us already, and we're going to go back to some later on. So this is the main dashboard we're going to use, where you can see the throttle pedal, you can see the up state, and if the controller is enabled. So right now pre-charge is already done and there's high voltage on the system active, so we have the pre-charge complete, and these are both 1, which will make sure the controller is able to drive. Our ignition switch is on. The start switch we have looped together with the ignition switch in this case, so it's on. We're not using the performance level. Right now it's only in 1. You can use different modes for economics, sport, or whatever you like to do, but that's for later. We can check the brake switch here again, and we're going to see if we have drive and reverse. You should be in up state 6 right now, which means pre-charge is complete and you're ready to drive with the car. We have limited torque for you already, which we can see in torque control, and then base motor torque. In this application we've already set it to the maximum, but this will probably be a lot lower for you, and I believe our standard map is 50 and -20, which means we have 50 Nm forward and 20 Nm in reverse. I advise you to start with those and see if the wheels are spinning nice and free without any problem before you put full power on the motor. We have the pedal torque map, which you can see with the throttle is moving in the 0 RPM right now in percentage. You can fine tune this later on with how many percentage of torque you want on this map. So we put everything at 360 Nm because that's the easiest, and then in here if I do this I will have 25% on 20% of throttle, I will have 25% of newton meters or torque available. So you can adjust it here if you want more or less. And the minus here are for reverse, because we're using a single pedal drive. If we are at a higher RPM and we have 0% throttle, we want already to use this regen. If everything spins nice and everything seems good for you, you can lower these values to whatever you like to use. These will always overrule this table no matter what. So everything here is 360, but if I only do 100 here, the maximum torque of the motor will be 100. We also have creep and reverse. The reverse table is set just with the basics, and we're going to 360 Newton meters full throttle, and below that we're only at 200, and we build it up. In case you want it different, feel free to adjust this for your own feelings. Creep, you can disable it or enable it. It's whether you like it. We advise to enable it eventually and just put the newton meters very low, because it will keep the slack out of your drivetrain, because it will always put a few newton meters on the drivetrain itself, so you have no play in it. You can of course put it higher. These are just newton meter numbers. So right now it's at 12. So if I enable it, I will have 12 newton meters activated on the fly. And you can adjust it even higher, so you can start driving on the creep, or disable it fully if you don't want it. I've disabled it here because I'm just standing still for the video. Once you have done this, we can also go further to the limiters. And here you can see different tables which will show you what is limiting the motor at that point. In most cases you can click on it, and on the right side here it will show you what the table exactly means. So motor torque limit multiplier at low vehicle speed, on negative torque only. So negative torque will mean regen. So you can see miles per hour on the top here. So this means these are in miles per hour configured to your setup. And then you can apply them if you want more or less torque there. And this is a multiplier. So 1 means full power, which was right now 360 newton meters. If you change this to 0.5, it will only be 180 newton meters. And the same goes for this. I advise you just go slow through these and see whether you like it or you want to change some things. Again, this should already all be set up for you and ready to test. So once you have tested with the car a little bit, or drove around the shop or just around the block, and you want to go a little bit further and apply full power, we have to go back to setup hardware and go to inverter 1, which is the one we are using. And on the left side here we have max speed negative and max speed positive. These are set to 2000 RPM and 5000, which are your limiters. You can set these to 12,000 RPM maximum, which will raise the RPM limit. We've set this lower for you, so you can't go full throttle right away. In case you want to change the direction of your motor, let's say if you put it in drive, the car is driving in reverse, you have to change the ZONIC forward command, which is right now in counterclockwise, and if you want to drive the opposite direction, you go to clockwise. I believe those are the main things you will have to do. Again, make sure you have connected all these right: the ignition switch, the park reverse drive, the accel pad and the brake switch, when there's high voltage on the motor, and you can adjust everything from there. Feel free to send us an email to ask for more help if you need more information, but I believe this covers the basics pretty well. Thank you very much.